welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be the third video in my little series on gloss gods and the palettes that I picked up for Black Friday. So this one is going to be on the new Neutrals palette, the perfect, just everyday basic bitch palette. I'm very excited for this. Now, I did kind of have gloss gods on my radar a little bit. I'd been wanting this palette as well as the Vintage Glam. I did already do a video on this palette. I will link it above. And then on Black Friday, they announced that they were coming out with a new palette, and that was the Smoke and Mirrors palette. So once I saw this palette, I'm just gonna show it really quick because I also already did a video on it, which I will link. I knew that now was my time to jump on this brand. So I ended up picking this palette up for Black Friday, as well as Vintage Glam and New Neutrals, the two that I was looking at. And so far, they've lived up to the hype. I'm very happy with both of these palettes. We'll see what this one ends up being, but I have high hopes for it. So today I will be inserting in some swatches of this palette, going over the shades, details, as well as pulling you in, doing 3 eye looks, and then going over my final thoughts. I did kind of mess with the idea of combining the Vintage Glam video with New Neutrals, but then I just decided at the end of the day, if I was watching a video, I would rather just watch one video on the palette that I was interested in. So I split them up because I know not everyone is going to be excited about a neutral palette as much as I am. So that way, if you want to skip it, you can. And if you like purples, you can watch this one. And if you like cool tone color stories, you can watch this one. We got something for everyone. But I'm very excited to be doing some looks with this. So if you like eyeshadow palette reviews, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I am uploading every day in December just because I like to challenge myself and give myself the work and stay busy. So now let's just dive into the details of this palette. Now, I first saw this company, Gloss Gods, on Instagram. I can't remember who used them and kind of where I saw it from, but I started following them and really was just interested in all of their things. They are a Swedish indie company, and I'm trying to make it a New Year's resolution, a New Year goal to try out more indie companies and just give my money to smaller businesses. I don't know why. That's just kind of something that I want to start doing. I think like some of these shades are just so much more impactful than mainstream luxury brands. And B, just like try something new, like try something different. I feel like now that I've been doing YouTube for a little while, I'm really trying to branch out, especially with eyeshadow. It might not seem like it, but I've really just put myself outside of the box in what I'm used to doing for eyeshadow looks. So now I feel like with indie companies doing special shades, I can kind of justify the price where I don't feel like they'll just sit in my collection, just collecting dust. And that's my little tangent on just this company. Coming back full circle, I saw this company, I was intrigued, already talked about the Smoke and Mirrors, but they are based in Sweden. This palette is $38 US. Now that's gonna fluctuate based on the price of dollars to Swedish crowns. Since they are based in Sweden, the price value of currency is always changing. So I don't wanna like set in stone that this is $38. It's gonna be in that range, but let's go over the shades now. So I'll be inserting in a swatch photo. Now I did already swatch this and I have some thoughts so far because usually I do my swatch photo after I've already filmed the video, but I did do it before. Let's just start top to bottom, left to right. We have Oh She's Pretty, Soft Glamour, Never Shy, Feeling Famous, My Kind of Glam, Kind of Neutral, which is this shade here, and it's very flaky, so very interested to see the fallout on that one. Pretty Too Faced, Winning Together, It Factor, Cute Stuff, Rebel Factor, and Center Stage. Now, I really love that this palette has a mixture of some cooler browns, some warmer browns, and just like really interesting shifty shades that are still neutral. Now that I've talked about the details, shown you some swatches, I'm gonna scoot you in a little bit closer and we're gonna start look number 1. So for look number one, just looking at this palette, you really just have staple mattes. Again, this is a neutral palette. So the shimmers are kind of more what I want the focus to be on. And I don't think I'll be able to really just do too much variety with the mattes here. I'm gonna just start off for look number one going into My Kind of Glam. And we're gonna apply that in the crease. And I'm gonna think about the kind of shimmer shade I want to use. Maybe do like more of a gradient for look number one. This is a nice matte. You know, the mattes in all three palettes just work wonderfully. I like them a lot. I think there was one in Smoke and Mirrors I didn't necessarily love the shade of, but the formula is exceptionally well. I did apply My Kind of Glam to the bottom lash line here. I have some remnants of black eyeliner still in my waterline, so if you're doing this from scratch and you haven't worn makeup yet today, you probably want to add that. However, for me, I already wore some makeup and then took it off, so there's a little bit in there that kind of mixed in with it. So I think for the first one, let's just see kind of which one I want to do. It Factor and what is this? It Factor and Rebel Factor look very similar. And then what about this one? Never Shy. Okay, so here's Never Shy. This is Rebel Factor and then It Factor. I think I'm gonna go in with Rebel Factor and we're gonna apply this to the center. I don't even wanna deepen up this crease. I kinda wanna keep it easy. Surprise, surprise. And really just let the shimmers speak. We'll see once I have this added how I feel, because now that I'm applying this shade, I think it needs like a little bit of depthness. Shade is really pretty though. It's dark and sultry, but still like very neutral. I'm gonna go in with It Factor because it kind of just has like that really green, almost to pink, maybe a hint of blue in there. And I wanna just, I think, put it all the way from the inner to the outer. Normally I'll just spotlight with this kind of shade, but let's go crazy. It really, okay. This kind of makes it like, I want to call it like a dragon green. It takes that brown and just adds like that flip to it. It's really nice, but I do think that this needs a little bit of depth. So I'm going to go in with my smaller blender and go into Cute Stuff and apply this to the outer corner. Just a little bit, because sometimes these shimmers can have fallout and it takes forever for me to get it off. Just a little bit. Go back in, blend it. Yeah, I think that that makes it look a lot more seamless and just connected and put together. Add this to the lower lash line. Like that. My eye is watering like crazy, so that is not the shadow, that is my eye. It's just very sensitive today. Not looking good. That's okay, you'll get the gist of it. Here is look number one so far. As per usual, I'm gonna do look number two and then apply mascara at the very end, clean up the corners, etc. So let's go into look number two now. And I mean, this was super quick and easy. I used 4 shades, but I still feel like, I don't know, I like this a lot. Very quick, easy, simple, everything that I love in an eye look. So for this one, now I'm gonna go into Pretty Too Faced. That's this one here. Before I used this one, it's a little bit more neutral. This is a little bit more warm toned. And we're gonna use that as our crease transition shade. Yeah, immediately, like it almost looks red. That's interesting. My brush is, I don't think it's the brush because I do wipe the pigment off. And my brush is not that dirty. I recently cleaned them. No, it's definitely the shadow that's just pulling so much more red than in pan. I thought this was just gonna be like a kind of light brick red, but it's much more red. That's okay. Of course, adding the same color to the lower lash line here. Perfect. And now I'm gonna deepen it up again with cute stuff, just a teeny tiny bit, because last time I've regretted it. I like to really just deepen up the crease so my eyes look less hooded. This is kind of like my bigger eye too. This eye is a little bit smaller. So look number 2 always ends up, I think, looking a little bit better just because I have a little bit more open lid space. All right, now that I have just a little bit of darkness, like you can barely see it, I wasn't gonna use this shade, but now I'm thinking I need to. So I'm gonna go into Winning Together, which is this one. And then I'm gonna use this one and Be Brave because I know this is gonna give me that fallout. So let's just go for it. This is like a very nice coppery shade. And since that matte color had more red, this will go really great with it. And because I know that kind of neutral shade is gonna fall all over my face, I'm just gonna try and add a little paper towel and catch some of that and just very gently really like press it into my finger, but you can just see how flaky it is on my finger there. And then I'm gonna lightly press in the center of my lid and hope it doesn't get all over my face. It's a very pretty shade. And now that it's there, I'm just gonna kind of continue to press it in and hope that it just really sticks. Probably thinking about it, for all these like very flaky shades, you need a glitter glue. I do not have a glitter glue. It's probably something I should pick up. But we're gonna work with it how we can. I really like that shade. It's very just like impactful. I'm gonna lightly go back in with Winning Together. Just tap it on both sides. Just like that. And then go back in with Cute Stuff, that really dark neutral brown, and just deepen it a little bit more. Kind of almost bring it in, because I kind of want some depthness in here as well. I don't know, like something's missing from this, right? Am I wrong? I'm just kind of blending this up and trying to decide what I think is missing, because it's something I just don't know. Or maybe it's just the gold needs to be more everywhere, not just spotlighted. I wish I could get your opinion. It doesn't look bad, but I decided I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm not 100% happy with it, but maybe with liner and mascara, it will look better. So I'm gonna go do that off of camera, and I'll be back to show you the finished look for 1 and 2. Here we are with the completed looks. So we have look number 1 here and number 2. You can see, despite using the paper towel, like I still have glitter just all over my face. It has not left me. I'm gonna continue on with look number 3, Just to reiterate though, this is definitely a palette you have to do before applying your base, realizing that. But since we're here and already started, we're just gonna continue on. I do like both looks. Like I like how dark and sultry this one is. There's just something about this one, and I think I just wish I put the gold more all over the lid rather than just in the center. We'll see. I do like them both. It's not anything to the shade. I think it's just to my skills for look number 2, just missing something. I'm going to take all this off now though, and I'm gonna get started on look number 3. Look number 3, dare I say I'm gonna keep it simple? I mean, I feel like there's only so much you can do with this without just incorporating shimmer on top of shimmer, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm gonna go in with this shade, the My Kind of Glam, because I preferred this over this red brown. Blend out with this one. And then the shimmers I haven't used yet. So I haven't used It Factor, I haven't used Soft Glamour, and then Feeling Famous, these two. I think, and I haven't used this matte, so I'm gonna use this as liner. But for shimmer, we'll decide when we get there. Let's first just lay down this transitional color. Start with that, see where it just takes us. Kind of want to do like more of a spotlight, because the first two, I kind of just did like that classic easy one shade on the lid, one in the outer corner. So maybe switch it up just a little bit and add the spotlight factor. Blend this out with that Oh She's Pretty shade. It's the same brush, I just kind of wiped it off. And then, let's see, so I'm gonna go in with my Rephr 13, back into Cute Stuff, and deepen up the outer corner, as well as just take this over. I'm gonna take it higher than I normally do. Keep going with that outer corner, and then do the inner corner. Back in with Oh She's Pretty, which is just that really light flesh toned matte. Just kind of going over it to just lighten it up a little bit. I do want this to be semi-daytime appropriate, whatever that means, but I don't want it too dark and smoky. Now for lower lash line, I'm gonna go to Cute Stuff, the darker one, run that completely underneath, and then we're gonna blend it out with My Kind of Glam. So smaller brush, I'm gonna take my flat shader and go into the very, very light one, this one, and blend this out even more, just so it's not too dark. Even just like clean up this outer corner while I'm at it. There. Okay. Now, I still have not decided on a shimmer. I think we're gonna keep it softer. So Soft Glamour, I mean, I think that that's an appropriate name. It's kind of like a very pinky taupe, more leaning pink. And I'm just gonna tap that on the center. I kind of wish that this palette had a more bright shimmer that just popped a little bit more. Like the brightest shimmer is this one, and I'm not doing that again. It's pretty for certain times, and I love that shade. It's a very pretty shade, but as of right now, my eyes are tired. This isn't doing it for me. It just is kind of like blending into the shades. It's not standing out enough. And I said I wanted subtle, but I didn't want that subtle. Do I need to do it? Do I need to do it? Just do it very lightly. I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, that shade is really pretty. It just has the fallout. A little bit more on the side. Last but not least, I'm going to go in with my angle brush, go into center shade, and just line my top lash line. I don't think this look actually needs too much lining, but we'll just thicken it up a little bit. Surprisingly, I think this might be my favorite look. I like how it turned out quite a bit. I'm gonna go do the other eye off of camera, apply mascara, show you the final look for it, and then we'll get started on my final thoughts. I'm back with the completed look. Here is what it is. I quite like this. It wasn't as light and daytime. I keep wanting to say that, but I don't mean that you have to put makeup in a box, just like a lighter, more subtle makeup look. It didn't turn out like that. However, I quite like this a lot. Now, I am going to scoot you back out. We're gonna go over my final thoughts and probably just talk about glitter a lot. All right, I'm gonna try and be diplomatic about this palette because I don't think it's the palette's fault. I think it's my fault. I like the formula in all three palettes, but this palette especially, the mattes are great. The shimmers are great. The only issue that I'm having is fallout, and that's on me for just not having a glitter glue and not doing my eyes before my base. So that's what I mean, like it's just a me problem. I think I just need to play with this palette more. On first impressions, I like the palette, I'm just not loving it, and it's not doing everything that I want it to do. It's almost like low-key just irritating me from the fallout, but I don't want to blame the palette for the fallout. Like, it is just all over my face. It's everywhere. I can't remember just off the top of my head another palette that just gives this kind of fallout. So I know it needs a glitter glue, which is why I don't have a glitter glue, because I don't have another palette that gives the fallout that this gives. I'm willing to make the exception because the shades are so impactful and so special. The shift in them is beautiful. I love everything about this. I just need to make some minor adjustments to how I apply my makeup to make this palette work, I think. But my favorite thing about this, I think, is the mattes. I love this matte. I love this matte. I mean, these are two very boring, not special mattes. You probably have these in 15 different palettes. This matte here, but all of them build and blend amazing. The best mattes I can think of, honestly, like this one is great for liner. I'm not a total fan of this shade. I don't necessarily love warm tone colors. I've said that before in a lot of other videos. But I will be reaching into this palette specifically for the mattes often. Like, I can see myself doing that. With the shimmers, I'm just gonna have to think about it before I do my makeup of wanting to use these shimmers and wanting something very special, but they're also just very beautiful. I love this shade here. This is a great shade. It's just very flaky. It needs a glitter glue. Even this one here, I like that look. I like the look that I have on. So I'm very happy overall with all three palettes. The formula is great, just you have to apply it a very specific way. It is not just a throw on your lid, walk out the door eyeshadow palette. It needs special care, special instructions. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of getting this. Overall, I think that Gloss Gods did a great job with a neutral palette. It's neutral with just having a lot of special elements to it. And that's ultimately what I look for in a neutral palette, because yes, it's nice to have like that staple you can go back to time and time again, but those palettes you tend to just have as a companion palette to other palettes. And I like just grabbing for one palette. I like that this has the neutrals I can rely on with special shades. Coming to mind is like the Dominique Cosmetics Essential palette. I have that palette, but it just really has like staple shades. I mean, it's an essential palette. It does what it's supposed to do, but I don't have like enough room on my vanity on my desk to just permanently keep that palette out and always just reach for it. And I don't think when I'm doing my makeup to reach for another palette along with the palette that I'm using. So that's why I just like having one palette that has everything in it. If I want a neutral look, this is a great palette. I always do a just kind of summing up video every so often when I have a good amount of products. So I will be doing one of those towards the end of the month here, and I'll be including these once I can just play around with it a little more, get a glitter glue, use it as intended, and I think that I'll fall in love with it even more. But stay tuned for that video. Make sure notifications are on so you can be notified when that video comes up. Those are really almost the best videos on my channel to watch because I can really give more of my in-depth thoughts after using a palette 10 times. And I think that that's more beneficial if you're considering picking something up than just like these first impressions, because right now, like, again, I'm gonna take off all my makeup, just being completely honest, because I don't like all the glitter on my face. If there was a little bit of glitter, I would let it pass, but there is so much. It's everywhere. I had to wash my hands multiple times to get the glitter off. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like things that are dirty. I keep my palettes like fairly clean. You see people who use their makeup and they like it. They like that it looks used. I don't like that. I take care of my things. I like for them to look really nice. I don't like it when palettes just are very messy and they look used. I get why people like that. That's just for me. I don't like that at all. So the messiness is just too much now. I'm going to work on this palette, work on the Vintage Glam as well as the Smoke and Mirrors, see if I can just adjust myself to them a little bit, and I will report back. That is going to complete today's video though. Hopefully the swatches and the eye looks were all helpful. Hope you're having a great December so far, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.